Just in, aliens don't poop. Welcome back to another special UFO video. Friends, it has been 1 year since I posted this alien thread, literally about over a year now, and we are going to revisit it. There are some crazy details in here about a scientist's research on the alien body samples. Now, when it came out, it's just Reddit, and everyone's like, well, this is weird, and the guy got spooked, he deleted his account, but the messages are still there, okay? And there's a lot of information. We're going to go through them. There is a particular point in here that no one was expecting, and it was the location of where the US government were keeping the alien bodies. And then a very special interview dropped a couple of weeks ago from Lue Elizondo and Ross Coulthart. So Lue, friends, remember I made my video on him. He's worked in the US government leaker. Okay, government leaker, can only tell you some stuff about the aliens, not everything, otherwise they literally kill him. And he dropped the location of where the US government had the biological samples at one point.
Yep. You also reveal how some non-human alien biosamples are now being kept at Fort Derick in Maryland, or with the FDA.
So when I saw that, because he dropped his book, right, I was like, oh my gosh, who remembers that post? I remember that post. So man, we're about to go deep, friends. So look at this. I made this post a year ago. The leaker was a scientist at this, and they dropped the location. It is Fort Derick, Maryland. Look at that. From a year ago, friends. I have this post here. The Battelle National Biodefense Institute. It is on Google Map. Now, here's the thing. It's very important we talk that the US government, the Coconut Intelligence Agency, they will often do PsyOps campaigns where they will try to lead everybody off to the wrong direction. There's a problem though here. The amount of detailed, logically consistent information in this scientist's post, which we're going to go through and I summarize, they're off the chart, and they are really off the chart. In fact, some people did research. This person made these posts, and this person talked about the DNA technology, the DNA reading technology they were using for the computers. And there was somebody who's doing a PhD, and they're basically in the Reddit thread. I think they teach at a university or something, and they're probably in their late 50s or whatever. And they went back and they checked. They go, "Whoa, you're an OG, man. How did you know about that program? Because that program was retired. Only somebody who was around 20 years ago for that little window of time would know about how we used to do the DNA structuring and how they used to compute them into the program, into the computers." Okay, that's why it's amazing. But obviously, friends, aliens don't poop. It's kind of funny, made my thumbnails out here. Aliens don't poop. Why? It's because the android aliens, which are discovering that they are androids. Okay, the real ones, which you've seen in Betty and Barney Hill, which I'll show you. Now, there are a lot of different species of them and stuff out here, but this is pretty much what they look like. Okay, so this is her depictions and her drawings. These are the ones on the ships, friends. These are not the androids. These are pretty much the dudes. This one's called the Examiner. Okay, so by the way, there's so many. There's ones that look like bugs, ones reptiles, just pretty much everything. Okay, ones that look like us, they call them the Nordics. And I can actually show you some pictures. People have actually come across them. These are real drawings from people who've encountered them. They look like that. They look like us. There's also ones who don't have these eyes. I mean, this looks a bit spooky, doesn't she? Look at you. I wouldn't take you home on a Friday night. Gonna need a few beers to get in that. But a few of them, friends, they also have perfect jawlines. So there's basically everything. Everyone's been abducted by pretty much everything at this point. But let's go on. These ones are going to be about the grey aliens, the traditional ones. And it's these ones right here. See the small ones? But that's pretty much it, the grey aliens. These are the traditional ones, right? So big, they got a big head and everything out here, okay? So that's the ones they're talking about when they've come to discover them. Okay, so this molecular biologist, right, they leaked the location and the study details, and they had 4 alien bodies. Now, we don't know. Did that come from Roswell? Whatever. Okay, so, but the words they use for them, they call them this EBO, exo biospheric organism, which is just, That's why it sounds so believable, because it's like, yeah, that's the biggest thing that the government will do. Don't call them aliens. Exo-biospheric, which means like exo, out of our biology sphere, organism thing that's just moving around. All right. And it's amazing. He dropped the actual lab center. He goes, hey, lab BSL L3, National Biodefense Analysis Center. By the way, in Lue Elizondo's interview, he goes, they had them there and they keep moving him around. Right? Because obviously, for obvious reasons, right? It'd be a bit of a waste of time, 100 years of murders and stuff, and then it kind of gets leaked out, okay? So it's kind of funny. I put the pictures here. This is a picture of the lab inside. Obviously, they're working on something else, but it's amazing that these things were dropped. Oh, man. And by the way, the Twitter account's deleted, so you can't get any of that ever again, okay? Now, here's the thing, right? These scientists work for a national security program to study EBOs, gray aliens. They worked on them from late 2000s to mid-2010s. With the recent advancement in DNA technology, they could dig into their cell structure. The scientists revealed info on body, food, religion, and other bombs. So here is me, friends. I drew this. Hey, little alien dude. Okay, so this is just me. I'm just having some fun here. Obviously, he's having some fun. That's all the bio mechanics and everything out here. So this is it, right? So this is our biosphere. This is our Earth, right? You have the atmosphere. You got the Earth. You got hydrosphere, which is the water. Look at this cute little octopus here as well. Okay, so let's continue. The medical dude, bioengineering dude, he said their genetics are actually like ours. They're similar to ours. They're based on DNA. All right, and he said when they first studied them, it was puzzling at first. He goes, because they're from another planet, right? Another biosphere, and they have different biochemicals. So why are they similar structure to us? And then he basically said the scientists concluded our biosphere, our planet, and theirs share a common ancestry. Okay. Now the implications of this, I mean, there's so much speculation. Did they basically come and populate Earth with cells and organisms? That's one that's one theory, friends. Like, think about this, like hundreds of millions of years ago, Earth basically barely got water here. They came out, they just started shooting out basically what they call cross-sperminization. I know it's kind of funny laughing. Sperm, woo, swimming around, friends. I know, I get it. But that's pretty much it. Cross-sperminization. That's actually one of the scientists' theories. They believe a comet came here and we had basically microbiomes from like another place. But maybe it was them. Maybe they came in and just basically just like, you know, the equivalent of just like injecting all these like biomass stuff into our Earth, and that's pretty much what it came to. Okay, they're obviously just all theories and stuff, but yeah, there's also, it makes you think about the ancestry, right? There's ancient biblical texts and everything about how we used to live on Mars, and then the Anunnaki made us, and all of these. Okay, so but there's so many stories, so many possibilities. Let's just focus on what this person's talking about. Okay, look what he said. He goes, their cells are compatible with human cells, and we are compatible with theirs. Their genome has 16 circular chromosomes. There's also extensive technical explanations in his writings with a lot of PhD science talk. They are genetically engineered. Today, we just say clones. So I have a picture of these cute little gray aliens out here, right? So that's pretty much it. So they're clones. And there's government, Coconut Intelligence Agency leakers, guys who they're like 85 years old. They literally got like a month to live, and they'll get the camera out and they'll do an interview and they go, yeah, I work for government. We call them clones. We knew they were clones. They're sending us this stuff for us to kind of like learn. We consider them more like a donation and a gift, because they would come down and they would like randomly down themselves from time to time, or let us take one down, basically just to study. And they saw it as, they say it as like, basically they're just like gently trying to push humans away from the nukes, more towards showing them, you know what, you can access other parts of energy. You don't have to blow each other up to do that, right? And by the way, friends, if you wanted to read all of this, I can put the description out here for you. So this is like pretty much all, this is like all of the posts, bang, bang, bang. You see all of this. There's a lot. So obviously, I'm very passionate about it. I actually read all of the guy's replies and posts. His message is literally like, it's deleted now. Sorry, his account is deleted for obvious reasons. Doesn't want to get offed. And it's interesting, their terminology out here. So look at this person, right? This is a replier. He goes, so they are worker bees. There are no sex organs. It means you can't have babies that will revolt. They must be created in a secure, sterile environment, like a space station or maybe a deep ocean lab. And then the guy, this is the OP, right? He goes, in my opinion, I feel like the, obviously, aliens are on Earth are just biological AI. I think their people on their home world would have a vastly different appearance and would have genitalia for production. The worker bees on Earth are printed autonomously from a probe somewhere on the planet that has been watching us for a long time and woke up, became far more active when we hit the milestone of nuclear fission. So this is obviously very interesting. I'm going to have to summarize so many of these things, friends. I'll drop the description if you want to read over it, but yeah, we'll continue. So let's actually go to the cute anatomy of these little alien dudes. So hello, Mr. Alien. Would you lick your eyes? And they look cuter there. All right. But basically, they have these details here, friends. So they are, check this out. They are about 150 centimeters in height. Not 150 meters, was a typo. 150 centimeters in height. So about 5 feet. They have a head with 2 big eyes. Their eyes are huge. They have night vision. So they have like this night vision of their eyes because their pupils are big. And it makes sense, right? Like if you were making an android, yeah, you'd like engineer him. Hey, make your pupils giant so you can see at night. You know, interesting. Their gray skin is a biosynthetic film to protect from passage of fluids. Interesting. Their brain is 20% larger than a male adult. They have 4 fingernails, no nails. So 4 fingers, no nails, minimal muscle. They have no genitals and they have no butthole. So that's pretty much, that's all I remember. I remember like, whoa, no butthole. We evolved. But as you get to know that they secrete, which means they poop through their skin. That's why they're always smelly. It's true, friends. It's true, man. The Bible talks about it. Everyone talks about it. When the demons and the aliens, whenever they come, there's always a smell of sulfur. They stink. They're like, oh, bears are smelly and poop in the woods. And these guys are smelly too. You know, just come on, man. Come on. Now, the biological system. They breathe similar to birds because their brain is so big and they have metabolic needs. Their blood has more plasma, so it's brown, and lots of copper and sugar. They have no poopy hole. Obviously, I wrote that. So they stink like ammonia. They poop through their skin. Bzz, bzz. By the way, this is an actual, this is a real depiction, by the way. A real abduction story where they just came up to him. They're just like, beep. Yeah, that's what happens, friends. A lot of these common stories, people just see like alien ship somewhere and like 2 aliens working on it in the middle of a field. And they're like, hey, you don't belong from this earth. And they'll just turn around. Such a common story. They'll just have like a little device and just point at the guy and they just freeze. They just have this thing like, hey, that weird monkey, just freeze over there. Don't do anything crazy. Honestly, it sounds funny, but that's such a very, very common story where they're just like, and the people who, you know, rewriting the description, they'll say, I was just frozen. I literally couldn't do anything. I was just paralyzed. I just had to sit there, right? Oh man, it's nuts. It's nuts. Now, next part, how do they eat? They can only drink liquid carbs, rich also in protein and sugar. Most likely, they also need copper. What about their immune system? It's still unknown, and work needs to be done to figure them out. There isn't adaptive immunity from what we saw. All right, so that's basically some juice from the alien. Now, remember, friends, this was made 15 to 25 years ago, so it's a long time ago. That was the information this scientist was working on in their little field. And they had these out. They probably have more information about it. But that was interesting. Their immune system sucked. And so they don't have an immune system like us, like it's adaptive and meant to last long. So they're not meant to last long. They're literally made for short-term expedition missions. It's like, well, you don't need an immune system to last you like, 30 years because you're pretty much, once we're done with you, it's over, right? And they keep like cloning these things. It's pretty cool, right? Now, so are they biologically engineered worker bees? Here it is. Are they the worker bees, right? Yes. That's the person replying. Yes, they are disposable. They're unable to live here without technological support. They are also ephemeral, meaning short lifespan. They are only alive to accomplish a task. Now, friends, man, I'll tell you right now, South Park's so ahead of their time. In South Park, friends, they have... You've seen these little aliens in South Park, the clones. This is from South Park with the game and the shows and stuff. that the South Park, the creators, they did so much research, man. This is like decades ago. They knew, okay, these are the aliens, but these are the actual real aliens. These are the big head ones, right? They have different skin. And by the way, it's not them. There are so many. There are so many species, like heaps and heaps and heaps and heaps, all different types. It's just that with these gray aliens, they seem to be these ones, okay? There's just all these, but these are common story that appears. Now, we're going to get more deep, friends. You know what? I'm going to play some nice angel music because if you're still with me, this is going to get crazy. Now, person deleted the account, all of these. And look, you just never know, man. Sometimes, friends, sometimes you can't help but wonder, like, is this part of the government? They're like, you know what? Throw this leak out a bit here and there. Let's just get them to, like, you know, kind of be okay with the idea that this stuff is out there just to see what happens. It could be that. But the problem is the leaking of the location. Okay, so when I saw Fort Derick, Maryland dropped by Lue Elizondo, I was like, oh crap. I don't think that was meant to be leaked. You know, because it's like that went a bit too far. Like, hey, there might be aliens here, and we've got them right here. The government would never do that, right? I don't think they'd ever do that. Question. Can you tell us about the religion aspect in the document you were briefed on? Okay, so obviously this is like Bob Lazar. Remember, friends, everything is compartmentalized. Now, I died off my chair, friends. Once I heard Ivan on Tech last month. He was trying to say that word, and I was like, yes, I can't say that word either. Compartmentalized. Okay, I had to say it 50,000 times. That's how the government works, friends. They don't give everyone all the information. They only give you a small sliver. So if you leak, they can get rid of you, and you can't ever basically recreate the whole module. You can't tell everybody everything. You just get a small, tiny piece of information. That's why the research process is painstakingly slow, because they're not allowed to talk to each other. So everybody's in their own little groups. Obviously, some people work with each other. They're not allowed to leak anything. They know they'll get killed, right? But this is basically what they were briefed on, okay? So obviously, somebody had done a lot of work. They write the information out. Maybe the guy ends up dying, and it is what it is. Then they try to pass it on, okay? So here's what it is. He goes, look, so this is about the religion, right? He goes, look, aliens, so this is their word, EBOs. Aliens believe that the soul is not an extension of the individual, but more like a field, just like gravity. It gathers in the presence of life. Now, this, friends, was absolutely mind-blowing because it made sense. Do you know that from basically what these conclusions were, they said, as anything gets more special mass, biomass, okay, the soul's like a field. Wow. Interesting. Okay. But then you got to think about, hey, but a whale is bigger than us. Do they have a bigger soul than us? All right. But let's go through. I'm going to show you an excerpt from the account itself and what he says here. Let's read it. He says, look, he goes, I haven't read everything in detail, but can you expand on the document on their religion? Okay. So obviously they're given a piece of information. He goes, look, EBOs believe the soul's not an extension of the individual, but rather a fundamental characteristic of nature that expresses itself as a field not unlike gravity. In the presence of life, this field acquires complexity, resulting in negative entropy, if that makes sense. This gain in complexity is directly correlated with the concentration of living organisms in a given location. With time and with the right conditions, life in turn becomes more complex until the appearance of sentient life. After reaching this threshold, the field begins to express itself through these sentient beings, forming what we call the soul. Through their life experiences, sentient beings will in turn influence the field in a sort of positive feedback loop. This in turn further accelerates the complexity of the field. Eventually, when the field reaches a critical mass, there will be a sort of apotheosis. It's not clear what this means in practical terms, but this quest for apotheosis seems to be the aliens' main motivation. Now, friends, I didn't know what apotheosis means, so then I looked it up, right? I remember looking up it over time, and then it means, okay, there's two definitions, right? Number one, the highest point of development of something. So it's the culmination of a climax, okay? Also, second, apotheosis meaning the elevation of someone to divine status. Okay, so does that mean they're trying to advance? Okay, does that mean that? Does that mean that that's... I remember from reading through this, the whole post, I really encourage you to read it. It would imply that a lot of what these aliens are doing is they're trying to maybe populate more bio souls, right? Got to use those words like that. Maybe it advances them. Maybe if you have a lot of like life in one point, something happens. Maybe you transcend. Maybe they become more advanced. Maybe they go, hey, level up. We're now in the 5th dimension, not in the 4th dimension. And now all you suckers in the 3rd dimension, you're behind us and you got to catch up, right? Obviously, this is probably our brains. We can't comprehend this now. It's kind of, I guess, like going like 5,000 years ago, trying to teach people about Albert Einstein stuff, or like, you know, hey, how to use an iPhone. They just can't compute what's going on here. You know what I mean? So it could be like that. Or it could be even worse, trying to teach math equations to a monkey. Maybe that's, you know, how far behind we are. But yeah, you're probably wondering, because I was wondering, where the hell did this information come from? Like, who thought of this? And obviously, there's been scientists over time passed away. They're like, basically, they probably figure some of these things out somehow. But look at this, he continues. Look at this. He goes, let's read this together, right? I want to read this part, friends. Okay, I'm going to read this part. So he says, the author of the document added his reflections and interpretations as an appendix. He specified that for them, the soul field is not a belief, but an obvious truth. He also argues that the soul loses its individuality after death, but that memory and experience persist as part of the field. This fact would influence the philosophy and culture of the EBOs, resulting in a society that does not fear death, but which places no importance or reverence on individuality. This belief compels them to seed life, shape it, nurture it, monitor it, and influence it for the ultimate purpose of creating this apotheosis. Paradoxically, they have little or no respect for an individual's well-being. Now, obviously, that's where some people get spooked. But remember, man, like I said to you before, man, like, we kill more humans than they could ever kill. So just chill out about that part, right? Also, this person, right, look what they say. This scientist says, please be advised, I'm speaking from memory of something I read more than 10 years ago. So take the following with a grain of salt. Also, I'm not a philosopher or an artist, so please excuse my struggle to properly formulate the concepts and my dry terminology. Finally, note that this information comes from a document whose author was directly interacting with an EBO. It is not specified whether it was an ambassador, a crash survivor, a prisoner. This means of communication were not specified either. So there are many accounts of an interview out there where we have had communications with them. Okay, there's some videos out here, which I'll probably gonna make a video on that video one time. Friends, there's actually a video here. Maybe I'll show you. Now this one, friends, I know it's gonna look like a fake CGI thing, but there's a few things about it that's super strange. So there's this video out here, this in the interview, but I want you to pay your attention to this little thing, friends. Do you see this little light? See that? See this little light thing up and down? Okay, so this is obviously the alien thing here. See this light thing going up and down? All right. Now, this is what tripped me out. I forgot who, but someone out there who was a leaker, he said, yeah, this thing's real. And he goes, you know this thing is real because the aliens communicate telepathically. And the way we could see whether they were talking is they had this, I don't know, they had this little light device, but this light thing was moving up and down. So it was like their voice, basically like showing you, hey, they're speaking. Okay, and their thing would move up and down, this little light thing in the video. All right, so that's that thing going out here. Now, friends, this video is very, very, very controversial. It's not been able to be debunked, okay? And also trippy and scary about this video, there's a guy's hand in there, a surgeon, okay? The family were able to say, oh my gosh, that was our dad. He passed away. We knew he was a surgeon. They went back and like checked his like medical record. They checked his like stuff and they found out he's been secretly the US government surgeon for like really secret, top secret stuff, and he never spoke about it ever. Okay, so I might have to make a video on it later because that goes very, very, very deep, okay? So you can see how a lot of these things are like coming together. Remember, friends, they're speaking about these people's interpretations of the religion, and yeah, it goes very deep. Now, this part, I screenshotted it back then. It was very interesting. And look at this, right? So the top is, I don't think they were created with long-term survival in mind. They have an innate immune system and fluid flow is unidirectional in the excretory system. So I don't know what that means. I guess that means like you're always pooping, maybe. He says, this undoubtedly gives them a bit of a reprieve. They also wear a protective biofilm at all times. And this person replies, right, you laid out a fairly extensive explanation of this metaphysical belief system regarding souls, and then state that they were created for short-term goals. Perhaps my reading comprehension is poor. Is this metaphysical belief that of those artificially created things or of their creators? Do we know anything about their creators, or are we making an educated guess that they are artificial? Okay, so it basically says, another person replies, right, we are not our bodies, we are consciousness occupying a container. We are starting to understand this in our own species. Now imagine we were 1,000 to 10,000 years in the future. That's where these beings are. They swap containers, that is all. Listen to what experiences are telling people, and this will all add up. I have settled on this hypothesis as well. They have mastered this metaphysical aspect of themselves as they have every science and use it to travel where they please. The bodies are just drones. So, yes, friends. So, I mean, like, you know, friends, even in the Bible, man, there's so many times Jesus will say, the flesh is nothing. The flesh, don't worry about the flesh. It's all about the spirit. If you replace spirit with soul, you're like, oh, wow. We've been hearing about this forever. We are containers of souls. It's always in ancient texts and stuff. So that's why people believe that, hey, if you have a soul here, can you transfer it? So we don't understand this field of gravity. It kind of makes you think, okay, what makes your mass and me, our flesh, what makes us different? How come you got a different soul to me? It's interesting, right? Also, shout out to the baby dolls in my Telegram. Amazing imagery done out here. I remember when I once made one of my UFO videos, I basically said, think about the soul, friends, like you're a drop of water, and then when you die, you just go back to the ocean. And then when you're born again, like a cup comes up. You're just giving out here, right? But it has to work like that because we now have more humans that have ever existed on Earth. We have like 8 billion or whatever. But back then, we used to have only a couple 100 million or less. So do we have less souls? Is it split up, right? Are we're all fractals of each other? Maybe that's it. We're all just one collective consciousness human mind. Interesting to think about. Are we ever going to know the answer? One day in the future, but not probably in this flesh heap that we're in right now. The scientist also said he isn't testifying in Congress because he's afraid it's a honey trap. He also got super paranoid because people said his IP address can be tracked, so he deleted his whole account and escaped. What do you think? Yeah, friends, now I remember, this is jolting my memory. The guy, oh man, this is crazy. He was typing, he's like, no way, man, I'm never gonna testify. I read this stuff 10 years ago. I worked in there. I'm out. I don't want to die. And then someone said, hey man, just to let you know, be careful because they can actually track your IP if you do this and do that. They can actually get it. And when he did that, the guy deleted his whole account. So it was a random Twitter user saying, just to let you know, man, help you out, and he's deleted his whole account. I'm gone. Probably got freaking spooked like that. So that's all in the thread. It's still up here. It's still up here. So, this, man. In the Reddit thread, other molecular biologists had come in to ask him questions. He is definitely a PhD and vetted, and he knew everything a technical expert should know. A commenter said that the original poster knew Clustal W, a DNA sequence algorithm that was used in the 2000s. See this guy, Clustal W, damn man, you're kicking it old school. For the rest of you, Clustal is a sequence alignment algo that was commonly used at the time OP said they were active in this endeavor. Molecular biologists today would use newer alignment algos. Yeah, man. So, I mean, he checks out, friends. That's why I checked it. I was like, wow, man, really? Really? That's crazy, right? So, that's why I made my post here just to confirm. Confirmed. Lue Elizondo here saying, oh, wow, yeah, we did have him over there. Fort Derick, Maryland. Oh, man, it's nuts. Going through the guy's posts as well, friends. He goes, you know, the reason for disclosing these secrets is quite simple. I believe every human being has a right to know the truth, and that to progress, humanity needs to divest itself of certain institutions and organizations that will probably not survive these revelations in the long term. So basically, friends, that's all the coconut intelligence agencies and all these. And that's pretty much why. They've killed way too many people. Like, everyone's going to be in upheaval and stuff. Now, so much juicy information. Juicy. What can we do about it? Nothing. Nothing. All the UFO people want disclosure. They want the government to come out and admit. They can't, man. They implicate everything. The fabric of society would change, but how else are you going to do it? Can you slide it in? Let everyone know, hey, we're not alone. It becomes very tough. We do know, though, we've never been alone, man. We've never been alone. Don't even think we've been alone. Like, we're not close to being alone. Like I had a feeling, friends, one of the most easiest things to think about is, when has the universe ever made one of anything? Crickets. Exactly. Nothing. It's always been a multitude of everything, okay? So, you know what I mean? What makes us special? Nothing really makes us special. Oh, man, it's wild. You know, friends, like, in this person's post, like, look at the detail they're in. Like, look at this. This is the hands and feet description. Okay, look at this. Fingers are proportionally much longer than in humans. Unlike humans, finger musculature is entirely intrinsic to the hand. In other words, the muscles used to move the fingers are not in the forearms, but entirely located in the hands. At first glance, the feet consist of just 2 digits, but a necropsy soon determined that each toe was made of 2 fused digits. The medial toe is marginally longer than the distal toe. The feet are relatively longer and narrower than in a human. Their musculature, however, is vestigial. I don't even know what half this stuff mean, but you can see that the blood itself is analogous to that of a human. However, the proportion of plasma is much higher. Aluminum, all these other things. But like, this person, like, is actually so detailed. I was like, man, like, that's a lot of information. Okay. Do you think we're ever going to find out, though? I don't think we'll ever know the truth. See, we've come to the point where whatever the government tells us, we know they're PsyOps. Like, you can't trust anything from them. Like, this guy, he's talking about 10 to 15-year-old info, and he was only in one compartment. God knows what the rest I've discovered out here, okay? It's been a great pleasure with you, friends, going through this stuff with you. Yeah, we're not alone. The stuff about the souls, very interesting. We are containers, right? You know, when I heard it as well, I think almost everyone should at least learn these concepts, because it makes you think about the ancient texts with everything. It makes you think about it a different way. Like, hey, who told you that? How'd you guys know? You figure it out yourself? We never figured it out. Someone told you something, right? So obviously you can put the pieces of the puzzle together. I think humanity as a whole is better if you have this perspective, right? Because you know, once it's over, it ain't really over. It's a continuum. Okay, I think that's a better perspective, right? Rather than just having like this psychopathic view where, oh, well, let's nuke everybody. We're all done, right? So it's interesting to think about. You know, going through a lot of these, friends, I've seen a lot of this stuff, and I don't know, I've got a good feel for, like, I don't just want to believe. So I look at something, I appreciate it, and then I dwell on it, and then I go back and I'm like, all right, let's go find the debunking. Let's find the stuff that shows this thing is fake, this doesn't work. But some of these things, man, they hit too well. The language used, the details, okay, the details used. Sure, maybe not all of it's correct, but think about this, man. Even if just 1% is correct, just 1, all right, that's still mind-blowing itself. You are my friend. Like, subscribe, bell button, or catch you in the next one.